Names written, bridges burned, space demands your everything. On the don't be true, be now. For such a trait, fought it feels. Victory obtained no way. Fly dangerous, fly dangerous, fly dangerous, fly dangerous.
Why? Why do you do it? You explore for fame, perhaps for glory of being the first, or maybe you desire to be rich. It needs to be done. Someone has to do it. Explore the galaxy. Be the first. Be famous.
Oh, where no one's ever gone before. Exotic new life, wondrous nebula. Explore the galaxy. Explore the galaxy. Explore the galaxy.
Elite dangerous, Commander. Elite dangerous. What if I'm there? Go find out. What if I'm there? What if I'm there?
Another star on my display, calling out from far away, calling out from far away. No one's been here before me now. I'll find a way, don't matter how. Through the dark and endless night, past the points of fading light. Every world that catches my eye makes me want to touch the sky. And I know that I was made for this. Every system holds another gift. Every horizon calls my name. Nothing left to hold me back again. Out here where the stars are bright and new, there's always one more frontier to break through. Break through. Charts are blank and sensors clear. All these wonders drawing near. Let them say it can't be done while I'm chasing distant suns. In my ship I feel alive as these cosmic waves I ride. Every scan reveals the way to places where I'll make my way. We are all explorers at heart, born to push the boundaries of art. Time to rise, time to fly beyond what meets the eye. Beyond. Every horizon calls my name. Nothing left to hold me back again. Out here where the stars are bright and new, there's always one more frontier to break through. Break through. I hear the call of distance, and I know I found my place. Oh, found my place.
Okay, let's get this show going. Welcome in options. Thank you again for the subscription. You don't have to keep subscribing. I appreciate it, but you don't have to. Appreciate it a lot, though. I was going to stream about 9 o'clock, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and so I just moved the carrier out so I can do some exo-biology, and it took a while to jump out here. Yeah, I was literally didn't even have the game up or anything, and I was just watching some YouTube and stuff, and all of a sudden all three monitors went black, and I'm like, looked down at the computer was on, but it might have shut off, but it was still lit up a little bit. At any rate, I tried rebooting it, powering it off and stuff, and no joy. And I was like, man. So I unhooked it and everything, and I took it in the other room where I've got more space and more options to do stuff. Took the RAM out, put it back in and stuff, no joy. And I'm not going, man. I actually said, I hope it's the graphics card. Because I have replacement cards. I don't have a replacement CPU or anything. So I took the graphics card out, put in a different card, and it booted right up. And I put the graphics card back in, and it wouldn't boot. And so I put this card in, and that's all I've done so far. It's possible that this power supply might be having issues with the 6-pin or 8-pin extra power that goes to the GPU or something. So what I'm going to do when I get time is I'll disconnect the system again, or either that, I might have room to do it right here. But put the other video card in and just connect up. I've got several other power supplies that I know work, and hook it up and see if it works. If it works, great. I'll just replace the power supply. If it doesn't work, well, it is what it is. And this card will support 3 monitors, but one of the outputs is a DVI, and I don't have a DVI cable. I do have monitors, but they don't have the same type of DVI. I don't have and I do have DVI cables for those. So I just got on Amazon and I bought a couple of DVI of the right type to HDMI converters, because my monitor I use is an HDMI anyway. So hopefully I'll just be able to plug it in and have my 3rd monitor back. Everything looks fine. I mean, the bit rate's it's definitely not as fast as the GPU, don't get me wrong, but everything on the computer seems to be, I mean, the stream and stuff seems to be okay. This is the first time I've tried streaming with it. What happened to, where's another commander over here? At any rate, you can see where I'm at. I'm just out here. I'm going to just plot a course away from the carrier and do some exo-biology for a couple hours and see how it goes. Biggest question is, do I want to go up, go down, or what? What else is going on? Can you hear me okay? I didn't even check that. I think everything's working. Yeah, it looks like it's all working. Looks like the audio level's okay. I would be having a seriously hard problem right now if my son had not left a bunch of junk computers around. This TI-50 and a NV750 he left here with a couple of other motherboards. One motherboard I've got running Linux and stuff on, and it plays Elite. I had the TI-50 in it, but I can play on that other computer with the NV75 or 750. The other motherboard doesn't post, and I'm hoping it's just a BIOS corruption issue. I actually am going to reprogram. I can't get to the BIOS screen or anything, but it's got a BIOS chip that's pluggable. You know, it's in a socket, and I have a programmer coming today. It was like $8, so I'm going to flash the BIOS on it again, and hopefully that'll fix it. If it's not that, it may be the CPU. It's got some Intel chip in there. I don't think I have another system with an Intel chip to put in there to try. But hey, if it works, and hopefully it does work, because it's a nicer system than the one that the Linux is running on. And I have another half-height HP or Dell that I've actually used to play Elite on and stream, but it didn't work well at all. But what that would allow me to do, absolute worst case scenario, and I've already tried this. I've got an HDMI capture dongle. I just playing Elite on the Linux box with its HDMI output going into the other computer that has OBS on it. It's also got Linux on it and stuff, and I can capture the game and the game audio. So I could actually I could use one computer to play on and one to stream with. And I was thinking of doing that anyway before this crap happened. But, we'll see how it goes. At any rate, let me figure out a course here. First, let's take small jumps. I don't know how that got all set up. Let's see, we are 124 light years below the galactic plane. Let's go this way, and down a little bit more. Let's see what we find. I don't know what star types we've got selected. I don't want everything. Let's We'll take F, G, K, and M's. And we'll vary it, not that that's going to happen. Plot the route. Let's find us a star to go to. Matters not. 44, that's a good number. Let's go see what's out there. Now I found, I've been out in this area before. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm a glutton for punishment, so... I did not like the way that
Landing clamps disengaged. Launch confirmed.
my what do you call the analog meters on OBS are freezing periodically for the background music. Are you seeing any issues with the stream? The bitrate looks okay. Yeah, the bitrate's nice and solid. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know what I may you know what I'm gonna do. Let me go real quick and let me hard limit my frames to 30. I think just to try to keep things from stressing things too bad. Where's it at? I know it's here somewhere. What the hell? Oh, under display, duh. Yeah, I got it set to 60. Let me set it to 30. And maybe that'll take a little bit of stress off the game. Well, I don't know. I'm streaming at 60 frames per second, but you know, it is what it is. That should limit us to 30. Okay. I really wish I had my third monitor. I need Elite Bio Insights up. Let me get it over there.
See me out here chasing light, shot in a path.
Turn my speakers down so they don't trigger the microphone so much.
Smoky on my lap, purring as we glide.
Okay.
You know I can't look back. There's
Yeah, but if my son hadn't left his old computers and stuff behind, I would still be able to play. I wouldn't really be able to stream though. At least not right off the bat. I have several other computers, but they're decades old. So I would have to play with them and see. I might look into finding another video card someday. You see, I was only 7 followers from my goal of 500 followers. I noticed that a while ago. Let's honk. Let's see what's here. I'm sure this is already discovered though. 20 bodies.
Smoky blinks twice. He knows we belong.
Okay, why? I hate it that it defaults to the architect view.
Where the brave are.
See, even my frame rate, even on this, is dropping below 30. Okay, but we definitely don't have everything mapped here. Oh, look at this. I have been here before. And why isn't it all mapped? I've been here before. I was getting ready to go. Somebody was lazy. Let's find out if I've scanned this system before. Nope. Must have been just doing you know, that might have just been a carrier jump through here instead of a honk and scoop type thing. Come on, tune. Here.
lost when Smoky's close.
Maybe I should do a GoFundMe or a fundraiser for a new graphics card. But I'll wait. That would never happen, I suspect. But not that the fundraiser wouldn't happen, but I suspect I'd never make any money at it. But I'll wait to see if once I hook it up to the other power supply and stuff to make sure that it's really dead. I priced some of them already, the replacements, the 580s. I'm not gonna be able to buy a new video card that's good. Things are going up, especially the good cards. The more modern cards are really getting pricey. You know, I'm happy that I've got so much memory for these computers. I don't have to try to buy some computer or buy some memory or something. I don't have a whole lot, but I have an adequate amount to play games and stuff with. That's one of the limiting factors on this 1050 is it's only got 4 gig of RAM. Why is my mouse so fast? Yeah, this mouse tuning is going to get me. Hang on a second. Maybe I can do something about that. I was having troubles with the mouse. You may remember when I turned VSync off and stuff, it was getting really laggy. So I turned VSync off, but I set a frame rate limit, and that controlled things. Hello, Mark Gamer. How are you? Welcome in. Let me set this mouse sensitivity on this thing a little, slow it down a little bit. Let's see how that works. How are you doing tonight or this morning? Oh, that's a scroll wheel speed. That's in the Windows settings. I have that set up different. Okay. I'll just have to deal with it for now. Or do I? Hang on a minute. Having issues here because I lost a video card and had to change so many settings and stuff. Let me see something here. Going to my mouse settings. I remember distinctly changing the scroll rate. Yeah, it says multiple lines. Let me, one line, one screen. No, I don't want one screen. I want. Okay. How many lines to scroll each time? Go down to 3. Snow, rain in the area with high winds. Ah. That's still fast, but maybe usable. It's been warm here. Supposed to get rainy tomorrow, and that cold front's supposed to move through, so it's supposed to get cold, but not super cold. It's not here.
Body B3. Land a hole with atmosphere.
So I don't have my overlays not on the screen. Oh. Okay. Oh, I can live with that. I don't want to screw up the settings too much because if I get my third monitor back, things will go back to where I want them to be, or I'm used to them. Down to 2 monitors. I lost the video card, so I had to fall back to my TI-50 and kind of lower the settings and stuff, and fingers are crossed that everything is going to work. And there is nothing here but one cheap bacteria. Excuse me. My RX 580. I was literally watching some YouTube videos, just sitting here just like this, watching YouTube, and all 3 monitors went black, and my computer wouldn't boot and stuff, and if it booted, it doesn't have a speaker to beep. And I'm fixing that today too. I'm getting some little piezoelectric speakers for these damn motherboards. It doesn't have any LED diagnostics. But
Analyzing.
so I ended up trying, you know, to reseat memory and things like that, because I didn't know if it was the GPU or what had died, you know, at first. And so I put in a different video card, and everything's working fine. So I'm going to put the card back in this computer, but try it with a different power supply, in case this power supply is having trouble handling the extra current that RX 580 might need. Though I had no issues with anything, but we'll see. That'll be the final thing. I'll try it, you know, try it with a different power supply, and if it doesn't work, then I will just assume that the card is bad for one reason or another, and deal with it. Don't have many options. See, I can't tune that in between. Let me. It, you know, it may have a fuse, but you know, it's all hidden inside its case thing and stuff. And at some point, if I decide that it's bad for real, I might take the case apart and look at it or something, and you know, and try to see what's going on. I'm gonna change that scroll again. Well, let me check the settings one more time. Make sure there's not a mouse setting that I am missing. Because I would like to slow that. What am I doing here? Don't want graphics. I want controls. Controls. But the hell was I saying? At any rate. Oh, see, ship controls, you idiot. Gee, ship controls. I'm like, where the hell is it at? Okay. Tuning right, left mouse. Absolute tuning. I know there's another. Mouse sensitivities. So that's the tuning sensitivity. Let me slow it down a little more. This may be too low, but let me see if that is the right adjustment. Oh yeah, that's much better. In its own way, it's not as good, but it will work much better. But we'll see. I was telling options there, Mark, that if my son had not left his old broken computers behind when he moved out, you know, he left this PI 50 or this 1050 Ti and another video card. I'd be having. It would be a lot more challenging than.
Neon atmospheric landable with life.
You know, because I don't have any other video cards to play games on, really. You're not a mice, welcome in. And there's nothing here either. Good to see everybody on this fine morning. I need to check, I guess I can wait for a couple of hours to see if the DVI, the DVI to HDMI adapter is out for delivery today. I don't really believe. Amazon said it'd be delivered today, and it might be being done by the post office, but I really expect it to be here tomorrow.
Data for cartography.
If I get that though, that will allow me to use my third monitor. So be back to my normal setup, what I'm used to. I don't know how people can stream with one monitor, much less two. At least I can separate my chat and stuff, but still I have a lot of things going on in that window that I'm used to. I'm just spoiled, I guess, you know. I'd actually like to have 4 monitors.
Body B4. Landable and terraformable.
Okay, we have
Landable with
possibly
atmosphere.
stratum tectonica.
High value body. Sulfur dioxide atmospheric
My
landable with
overlay
life.
worked that time. That was
Meets
interesting.
mapping criteria. Body B2.
It definitely
Landable
has
with
stratum
atmosphere.
tectonica. Sweet.
Carbon dioxide atmospheric landable. Body B3.
Could be
Landable
worse,
with
gentlemen.
atmosphere.
Ladies,
Sulfur
gentlemen.
dioxide atmospheric landable with life. Has high biological value. Body
Waterworld.
B5. High value body. Meets mapping criteria.
Maybe there's more stratum in this system. That would be nice. That would cheer me up. Find a bunch of stratum.
Body B7. Landable with atmosphere. Carbon dioxide rich atmospheric landable.
I didn't even check to see if that audio is working. You know, hearing the Bio Insights plugin talking about what I'm finding. You should be able to. I did check that since I plugged everything into different, possibly different spots,
Body B6.
I have to
Landable
reassociate.
and terraformable. Landable with atmosphere.
So I can't get over to the other window to
High-value
scroll it fast enough to see if
Carbon dioxide
what the audio
atmospheric
level is for
landable.
that. So
Meets mapping criteria.
I forgot what I was saying again. Jeez, I should just go to bed. Okay, thank you.
Body A7. High value body. Meets
Got
mapping
hiding here.
criteria.
What is that? Another water world? No green gas giants though. Yet.
That we could fly past every wall up to the sky. Commander, be you set us free.
Body A8.
We have 2
High
water
value
worlds
body.
here.
Meets mapping criteria.
Every horizon calls your name.
Oh, that's cool. I don't think I've ever found 4
High
water
value
worlds
body. Meets mapping criteria.
in a single system.
Discovery complete. First
The most
body
I
to
found
map
is
with
3. I found 3 many times, but only one time have I ever found 3 with 1 star. Usually there's multiple stars, and you'll find one with this star and a couple with the other star or something. But I've only found 3 with 1 star one time. Okay, we have.
Standing at the helm, my hands begin to shake.
So we have Planet 3 has 2 bios with bacteria and tectonica. Planet 4 has 1 bio. Let's go to 4 first and get disappointment out of the way.
But something pulls me forward. I can't leave this behind.
Okay, that's
What lies
B4. Okay. Well, that's not that far. All right.
I've known.
Let's go, go, go.
Weaker every breath I take. My
Have you noticed any issues with the video stream quality? Their options, I mean, compared to normal. Again, the bitrate is fine. It should be 60 frames per second, even though my game is limited to 30 right now because I'm trying to save resources just in case. Until I get a better idea of what this card can handle and things.
strange colors in the sky.
Okay.
Each planet
I don't expect. I'll watch the VOD later, of course, to see. But anything pressing, I'll have to address while I'm on the stream. But hey, I've had worse quality streams. When I watched some of my VODs from when I first started streaming and stuff, and that's pretty poor stuff. That shouldn't. Hang on. Since I changed video cards, let me look at something real quick. I want to make sure that I'm not using the NVENC. Make sure that the encoder is not using the hardware encoder by default or something. Okay, I'm still using software. Okay. Though I should be able to use the built-in NVENC encoder now. I don't use the hardware encoder on AMD because it's crap. But we'll see. I'll just deal with it. I'll watch the VOD and see. Even with my 580, I would get video stutters during the game and stuff, but it wasn't the stream. It was the game itself stutters, you know. There's a difference, you know, if the stream is having issues or if the game is having issues. It doesn't take a lot to max out this GPU though. And that's okay if it does that. That's alright. I mean, it's definitely not having any troubles with the 30 frames per second here in space. Now once I get down on the planet or something, it might have some issues, but that's okay. It is what it is. I have to live with it. I'm forced to, you know. It'll be alright though. I'm just slow so I don't ram into the planet because I got a little close. That was interesting. I'll give it 3 because I think I screwed up that back shot. I copied the key bindings from my Windows computer over to the Linux box so I wouldn't have to remap everything. Oh, we have Stratum. We got 2 Stratums in this system then.
Body B4.
It's a good day.
May host a high value biological.
I'm going to switch you to full screen. Do our thing here. I guess I could pull the stream up on my phone and... You know, when my hard drive in this computer died, I had to use a weaker computer to play the game. And I actually tried streaming with it, and it was crap. But I had to use my phone for chat because I only have one window, one monitor on that computer. And that I don't know how people do it. Don't know how they do it. That doesn't look too bad. Let's go down there and see. 2 Stratum Tectonicas though. Easy money. I was tempted. I was tempted to go ahead and order the 2 gig internet service instead of 1 gig. It's like $40 more a month or something.
Intelligent thrusters engaged.
But then I was like, you know, I don't even max out my 1 gig, so it would just be every once in a while it would be helpful. But that was a stutter of the game. And whether or not the stream stuttered, it's hard to tell. It like that was another stutter. Whoop, that's the ground. That's the ground. Come on, Commander. Oh boy, saved. I was not thinking, what's the gravity or 0.5? Usually I look at that. There's some over there. I almost bounced. What's our shields are for though, right? And here's where we get the bitch about landing the Mandalay. Maybe not. You know, BioInsights are, well, at least the Elite Observatory core. I was landing on a planet the other day. It was 1.6 G. The BioInsight says it was descended, warned me that it was a high gravity planet. I was like, oh, that was cool to know. It verbally said, warning, high gravity planet. Don't make me menu log. There it goes. Okay. Yeah, let's see, the frame rate has dropped. I look at that frame rate at 21. I can even see that in gameplay.
Stratum tectonicus confirmed present. Base value 19.01 million.
Yeah,
Minimum
see,
sample
I
distance
really need to
500
change the
meters.
settings on the
First
detail
partial
and
sample
stuff.
collected.
I'm going to worry about that too much. That's something I can do later. I don't have to do right now. I mean, it's playable. It's not something I would like to play a lot, though, on the surface. With the RX 580, I can keep things pretty high. Oh, I don't doubt it, yeah. I know if you're used to other ships. I've seen people playing, you know, and watching their streams.
You've traveled over 500
And I'm
meters
like,
from
yeah,
previous
that can make you clinch up there for a minute. You know, you just think you're just going to run right into the ground or something. Wonder, does it bring you down below the top of the tower at like one of the engineers' places? Like if you go to Felicity Farsi or something, there's no chance of it ramming you into the tower or anything, is it? Of course, that's not a high G world. Now the frame rate's almost, I can say almost decent, but it's...
Second partial sample collected.
Okay, I'm gonna have to... Came in below the tower. Couldn't see what you typed in chat there at first because the overlay popped up in front of it. Well, I guess once you get used to that, Mart, it would be alright, but for us people used to coming in shallow, it's gonna be different, right?
Minimum distance reached. You've traveled over 500 meters from previous sample.
I was looking at those rocks over there. I was wanting to see if they render differently or something, but they're a pebble in the way.
They drew a line in empty space. Said that's enough, don't go that way. But something in your eyes that day told me you'd never stay. When they said stop,
Sample collection complete.
Feeling the mouse, that's seems kind of sluggish. Oh well,
you set your course.
it is what it is.
When they said stop, you went
I got really good frame rate. In fact,
boundary there.
well, might actually have had a better frame rate now that I'm
That's
using
starting in 1
the same
minute.
card in this system as I was. I mean, I'm just getting a pretty good frame rate under Linux with this card. But then again, if I run into resource issues, I will split systems. I'll do the encoding and stuff on one system and play the game on a different one. And we are done here. Right? Yeah, we are done here. Now we're going to go to planet 3. Get it, do it again. Yeah, I'll get a Caspian someday and I'll try it, but I don't think it's something it's going to replace my Mandalay for what I do. I'm going to zoom right by that puppy. Watch. Only 59 light seconds, so I'll probably zoom right past it. Not hit the sun, though. Yeah.
You went further past every boundary they made. When they
You're just going to be that way, aren't you?
went further, now your name's written.
Doesn't fly the same either. Weird. Not. It's different, but it's not real different. Just slightly different, you know. Yeah, I think we got it here. There's bacteria and stratum here, so we definitely will be going down. And we can just go down at a decent rate.
Surface scanned by 50%.
We've done better on that.
Mapping complete.
Surface scan complete.
Next body to map
let's
is
go.
B6. Body B3 has high biological value.
And if the bacteria is real close by, we'll get it to just see. If it's not, I won't worry about it. I think this is going to be too steep for this one.
On approach. Feels like we're here to dust crops.
Talk to Mart about that. I am not a fighter type. I guess I need to move a couple of ships over to the Distant Worlds 3. I think I'll take my Type 11 and my Mandy.
All integrity is within limits. All systems are at normal levels.
That's interesting looking. Okay. Render for me, baby. There's some bacteria. There it is. It's just hard to see that color of soil, I think. Oh no, it's all bacteria. Where's the stratum at? Usually it's right in front of me. I I will go up and come back down if I don't see it right off the bat, because that's very unusual. Let's see if it likes to be over by the rougher stuff.
Stars call my name through silent space. Born from the void I find.
What I got gear down for?
Distant suns burn beyond the edge. Nothing holds me to
Okay. This is one of those rare occasions I think I am actually going to go back up to orbit and come down, because usually I see stratum right off the bat.
I am void born, child of empty space, infinite expanse.
Wow, I usually don't see bacteria
No gravity chains.
like that. Even that should be Cerebus.
Bacterium Cerberus confirmed
Cerebus,
present.
yeah.
Base
Usually you
value
don't sit on the side of a
1.69 million.
hill like
Minimum
that.
sample distance 500 meters.
Trying to see if it's the type of, you know, if the stratum's going to be the type that likes to be on the outcroppings, but this is unusual, so.
Cosmic dust. Silent
Usually it's very abundant. Bacteria, I should just go and get the bacteria out of the way. That way I don't have to worry about it. Let's do that. Oh, let me land here somewhere.
Others fear the emptiness, the space between the light. But I was made for
Today would be nice. Thank you.
the void doesn't take from me, it gives me what I need. Freedom in the nothingness when my spirit's finally free.
First partial sample collected.
Here, though, I will find it after I get this bacteria.
I am void born, child of empty space, infinite expanse, my heart's embrace. I am saved, my reverent soul.
Minimum distance reached. You've traveled over 500 meters from previous sample.
Show them happy states, mentally unstaged, my wants embrace.
It is unusual, though, to not to stumble across a stratum right off the bat. It usually materializes right in front of me, no matter where I come down at. Only a couple of times has it done that. Not done that. One time it was very hard to find, but I found it. Had to go up and down to orbit a few times, but I finally found a spot where it
Second
was
partial
at.
sample collected.
Between the rocks and stars tonight, scanning wide and deep.
Anyone been doing any of the hauling for the new CG? I looked at that and went, I already have some of the
Minimum distance
engineered
reached.
cargo racks. I wouldn't
You've
mind having
traveled over
more, but
500
it's not
meters from
really worth it
previous
to me
sample.
to
Where I
do
belong
that.
in this endless air. The distance calls my name.
It'd be different if you only had to, turn in one to get it, but you got to be in the top 75%. So it means I'd have to
As patterns
make it probably a couple of trips. I don't know what the participation's like in it.
I found my throne among the cosmic dust and light. What others fear, I hold
I still have time, but I don't.
kingdom in the night.
I don't know.
In the night.
Sample collection complete.
Okay, now I'm just going to punch up the orbit and come back down.
Red alert, there
Different spot.
quick moves through asteroid rain. Trust my skills and discipline. Break free from their chain. Every blast lights up the black, but they won't catch me here. Leave no trace, no turning back.
Looking at the hills here a moment.
The distance knows my game. Each move I make today, no two paths quite the same, as patterns lead the way. In the fields of stone, I found my
Anything here? Before I take off. See, that's, I can see the frame right there. That was
dear, my kingdom.
pitiful. Okay. Hopefully it won't take too long.
Where danger turns to pure relief.
Don't need to go real high.
Reading signs that you
Different spot over there. I really like to find some in the darker soil. Whoa, Commander, slow down.
in fields of stone.
Oh well, we'll just try it like here.
On the cosm, on the cosmic dust and light.
Darker soil would make it easier to spot, but
So dear, my
it is what it is. And the other place I came down, it didn't seem to be that it was a darker blue. It wasn't the cyan like this is. So maybe that was it.
Eyes felt like surrender, every moment incomplete. But the stars were calling through the silence. Curious cat was waiting there.
How is that for coasting? You're doing that CG now?
Gravity and fear. You're flying again
I see more bacteria. Lots of bacteria.
through the endless, through the dark. Oh, you're flying again.
Not seeing any stratum yet.
Your heart
But there's some, I think.
opens wide. You've come back alive.
We're good. We're good. If I can hold her steady, boys. Oh, we need gear. That's probably why.
colors no one's ever named. Distant stars, your sensors reading. Nothing here remains the same. Every alien world behind you. Every peril that you've known made you stronger, redefined you.
How much have you hauled yet? What do you have to haul to get in the top 75%, Mark?
You're flying again.
You did 10 runs in what ship? Well, and what? Where are you at in placing? Where are you placing at with 10 runs?
Frames that drive ignite your heart. The cosmos opens wide. The
Stratum
cosmos
tectonicus confirmed present. Base value 19.01 million. Minimum sample distance 500 meters. First partial sample collected.
This is who you are.
On the top 25? Okay. I should hope so. Man.
Fragile and strong. You left your mark on distant ground, but the void is in your soul, and the universe is
Are we far enough yet? Nope. 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 No. Close. Fine. I think we'll get that one.
Minimum distance reached. You've traveled over 500 meters from previous sample.
Come back alive, we command.
Carry on through the vastness.
Well, I haven't done any hauling recently, so. 5,100 tons. So what's it take to get in the top 75% at present? 2,000 tons?
Star date unknown, logging in. The cat purrs through.
I guess I could look on a NAR and it would probably tell me.
Collected.
Another jump, another system.
1,500? Okay.
Another jump by handshake.
That's,
But I won't listen. I write these words
that's not too bad. I mean,
before the silence takes me. I write these words.
what are you hauling?
These words.
What, they power converters or something? Or I don't know what they were looking for.
The chart says, out here with my metal friend.
Minimum distance
The
reached.
cat keeps going.
You've traveled over 500 meters from previous sample.
The cat keeps going until we're gone. Today we touch down on a world
See, power gen, I don't know about thermal cooling in my system. Is there a place to park a carrier nearby, or is there a place to pick up those things, you know, close by? Or
flags I scan the rocks.
I think I could have parked a little closer there, Commander. Jeez.
Oxygen clocks. I write these words
Skill issue.
before the silence takes me. I write these words. I write these words.
But I have a lot of power converters in my colonized system. I could load up some in the
Sample
carrier.
collection complete.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. I might, when I get back, I might do some of that. I don't know, just to get it out of the way. And
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I hope that's not a prophetic statement. All right, let us go to the next system. We're done here. Excuse me.
Know my name.
Landing gear retracted.
The void doesn't care. I care.
Maybe we'll be lucky at the next system too.
Frameshift drive charging.
Keep trying. The cat and I will not
4,
die.
3, 2, 1.
Let's go. Oh, I can just jump straight to it. I don't need to do all this work.
Frameshift drive charging.
I probably could have just pointed at it from the surface and gone.
The cat keeps going.
Jumping to next system.
I was looking at the Canon, dang, the Canon plug-in in Elite Discovery.
Logging out.
You know, like what they were requesting and stuff. And I went to a couple of places that they said it was not in the database, in any database. But it was already mapped and stuff, so I don't know
System scan.
where they're getting that information from.
Fuel scooping complete.
Or they were already discovered. So I don't know. And not only that, the distances, you know, they'd give you a system name and you'd get there and it would always be a couple of thousand light years off. I don't know. So I thought maybe they're trying to find a place that hadn't been discovered yet that is reputed to be there. So I jumped to all the nearby stars just to see, but I just don't, operator error, I just don't understand that part of the plug-in. And that's in Elite ED Discovery.
That's exactly why I'm here.
I'm glad I had the plugin, so I've been sending data to Canon, so for a long time.
I'll be the first to break ground.
Leaving system.
It does. You'll jump into a system or something, and once you scan something, if it's got rings, it'll try to get you. It'll prompt you to scan the rings at least. Because they have a second project about ring types and mappings and things that they're researching evidently. I don't know. Nothing here either. So we got about 200 million so far.
Leaving system. Frame shift now engaged.
Feeling lucky. Green gas giant gonna show up.
Gathering information. Cartography update.
Okay, 2 bodies here, 1 star. There's some distance between me and that star. What we have. Got a gas giant. Right there. But I went over to a place I had discovered brain trees, because evidently there is some correlation between brain tree regions with guardian sites. So I went over there to I found the brain trees and was checking a bunch of adjacent systems. Was that yesterday or day before? And didn't find any guardian stuff, but
Completing system
was
scan
fun.
for cartography.
Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 things on radar. We've got 2 stars so far. Trying to see if it's already discovered or not. We'll find out here in a moment. Doesn't matter. I'm going to look around anyway. Okay, discovered, but it's not mapped. As far as I can tell. Like the B-star has all the fun. Yeah, if you're actually watching the stream, you notice when it zooms in, it looks weird. It's the game doing that. It's not the stream. Video is just so it's not a smooth expansion. Let's just say that. I can live with it though.
Body A1. High value body.
Nothing good here.
Meets mapping criteria. System discovery complete. First body to map is A1.
Jumping to next system.
I need to check to see if the squadron commander's bought the fleet carrier yet, for the squadron fleet carrier yet. He hadn't mentioned it to me, but should have enough money, I think. I think we got about 28 billion.
Data incoming.
Do you know I need to put another billion on my carrier at some point?
Every star's a door.
Nothing on radar, 16 bodies.
Will you rise? Will you rise? Will you
Let's see what we got.
with me? Will you rise beyond the fear? Will you rise when death draws near? Through the rings of distant,
I don't remember if it was out near here where I found the
will you
segmentatus. When I say near, I'm just talking like 1,000 light years from here. I don't know exactly where the hell I am compared to where I found that at.
rise? Will you rise?
Okay, let's go. It's not green. Darn it. Is there any moons? No moons? Okay.
Commander's log day 2187.
Where are you hiding at?
Systems nominal, course remains steady.
Wow, that was a nice jump.
Through the window,
Okay,
lost
I
count.
know how to fix this.
Can't remember Earth's gravity. Starting to forget who I used to be. Vision lost in position, light years behind me. No one can feel too far from home. Too far from home. Looking to left. Too far from home. Being wrong. Too far from home. Too far from home. Out of love. Too far from home. Getting close. Too far.
Nothing but icy bodies, I think.
Watch me burn.
Body 1F.
Commander's log
Landable
day
with atmosphere.
219.
Cheap bacteria.
Argon atmospheric landable with life.
Radio static, no messages flow.
Body 1D. 5 of 6 premium boost materials.
Star chart showing nothing new.
Nothing worthwhile here.
Vision concision, non-fake concision. Light years behind me, and no one can feel far from home. Too far from home. Can't find her.
Adjusting for jump.
Too far from home. As they pair. Too far from home. Too far from home.
I'm ready for breakfast.
Always moving on.
Ooh, I have popcorn. I didn't remember to make that before I
Completing
streamed.
system scan. Stand by.
Priorities.
Ship's course locked, no turning.
Okay, 3 stars, 3 things on radar,
Everything's become
11 bodies.
Was there ever a mission plan, or just infinite?
Let us see.
Unknown, too far for home.
Icy bodies.
Too far from home. Can't get by. Too far for home. Too far from home.
Body C7. Landable with atmosphere. Neon atmospheric landable with life. Body C5. Landable with atmosphere. Neon atmospheric
Cheap
landable with life.
bacterias.
Body C4. Landable with atmosphere. Neon atmospheric landable with life. Body C2.
More cheap bacteria.
Landable with atmosphere. Neon atmospheric landable with life. Body C1. Landable with
Ads starting in
atmosphere.
1 minute.
Neon atmospheric landable.
Nothing here
Body
either.
C3. Landable with atmosphere. Neon atmospheric landable.
Nothing but 1 million credit bacterias. 3 of them.
Adjusting for jump. Amazing. That's quite something.
Guess I'm going to be up all night since I slept most of the day.
Compiling data for photography.
Didn't plan it that way. But
System scan complete. Fields remain complete.
nothing here, just the star.
Frameshift drive charging.
Class M coming up. I should take them off the list. G and K's.
Leaving system.
Maybe F.
Interstellar travel mode engaged. Gathering information. Cartography updated.
Fields remain complete.
9 more bodies.
Body 2. Landable with atmosphere. Argon atmospheric landable with life. Body 3. Landable with atmosphere.
Oops.
Argon
That's
rich
cheap
atmospheric
bacteria or
landable.
fonticula.
Body 7. Landable with atmosphere. Neon atmospheric landable. Body 4. Landable with atmosphere. Neon rich atmospheric landable.
System scan complete.
Nothing worthwhile. I'm gonna do that. Let's take a little different things here. Keep F, G, and K. We'll take the M's off. And I don't think it'll let me recalculate. I think I'll have to. Where are we going? Oh, we're going over here. Okay. Now we should not have any more M's. Let's find out. M's have a whole lot of icy bodies and stuff. Sometimes.
Jumping to next system.
2, 1.
Interstellar velocity at maximum. Completing system scan. Stand by.
21 bodies.
Now I'm flying solo through the black, but I can feel you by my side. Every course you help me navigate, every risk you help me ride. Smokey, you showed me how to be brave. When the universe felt too wide, you purr in every engine's hum. You're the reason I still fly through the nebulae.
Welcome in, is that Levi or Levi? Someone's been here. That's no good. Did they do the work already? Do I need to...
While I stood frozen at
Well, they did. Well, let's see if there's anything good here. No first footfall. Oh, look at that. 5 biologicals. 3 biologicals. Carbon dioxide. So, and no first footfall there either. So. I only targeted that initially just so I can point to it, so I don't have to scan the entire system to find those 2 planets with biologicals, just to see if there's anything worthwhile on them.
8 years we sailed the cosmic sea together, you and me against whatever storms and rages, systems fail. You never let me lose the trail when the loneliness would hit. Curl up close and stand on guard. Now every
Oh,
planet
come on, be nice.
I'm doing it to spread your name. They call me elite commander now, but you're the one who showed me how to face the dark and trust my heart. Even when we're worlds apart, your spirit rides in every ship that takes this crazy cosmic trip. And when new pilots lose their way, I tell
Body
them what
1C.
you'd always say.
Landable with atmosphere.
3
Carbon
bios.
dioxide atmospheric landable with life.
Fairly good tussock one. They're not a real super good one, but you might go look for it.
Body 1B.
Ooh,
Landable with
Recepta
atmosphere.
maybe.
Carbon dioxide atmospheric landable with life. May host a new
We'll
personal
definitely go
codex
there
entry.
first to see if that Recepta is there. And that's 5 bios on that planet. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's go see what drops off the list. Probably be the concha, but let's go. Huh. That's planet 1B. Okay. It's already targeted. Isn't that nice?
Through the void, all alone, systems unknown, far from home. Got my
This Recepta is like, can be like 12 to 18 or so. I don't know. I have to look and see for sure, but I know it's tastes good if it's there.
persevere, chart the way, day by day.
I'm just coasting right in. Okay. Where's the sun? Is it behind me? Yeah, okay.
Future bright, guide me true, past systems new, endless sight into night.
Recepta is either 12.93 all the way up to 16.2 million base value, depending on which variant. There's three types listed there that it could be. Nice one, nice one. Wake up the viewers.
By my will, guide me true, past systems new, ancient light.
Normally with 3 monitors, this is a lot easier. I'll show you guys what's there. Maybe? Yeah. You can see that there's a bacteria. Possibly. Now there's 5 biosignals, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can't see the tussock or whatever's at the bottom.
What comes next?
So we'll have to see what drops off the list. So could be good though.
Cosmic
Could be. Let's see what we got. That's the Elite Observatory's Bio Insights plugin there. taking a guess at what's there. Very helpful. If you do exobiology at all, I really encourage you to get one of the tools, either SRV Survey or BioInsights. Yeah, that's Elite Observatory Core with the BioInsights plugin. Really helps you. If you're discerning type and you're picky like I am, it lets me really quickly go, okay, there is nothing there that's of high value, so I'm not going to worry about it. Or you might say, like in this case, there's something of high value there that might possibly be there. Okay, we lost the Recepta. The Recepta dropped off the list. Damn it. There is literally nothing there now of any value. The highest one's 2.42 million. I'm not even going to worry about it. Let me take that off the screen, by the way. No, I found that a couple of times too. Where am I at here? Let me get that off the screen. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't happen real often. Okay, and let's not hit the planet. I think that's all in this system. Oh no, there's another system, but well, while we're here, we'll go see if that's, well, there's a Tussock that's 6 million. That'll be 18 million if I go down to get it. I'm not going to worry about it. Let us just press on. See if we can find something better. That's disappointing about the Recepta, though. I like finding Recepta. Yeah, I found them. The BioInsights a couple of times. There was the wrong type of life. It wasn't on the list. And several times it's predicted life until you actually get closer or something and scan it and stuff. Usually it's some type of horizons life that, you know, disappears. But you're right, though. It doesn't happen very often that it's wrong. In fact, Matt G, the developer, was in my chat one time when that happened. It said that there was some type of life there, but when I actually surface scanned it, it found a type of life that wasn't on the list. And he goes, that shouldn't happen. Wonder why I didn't find that or predict that. I don't think he's released a fix for that yet, though. I don't know when the latest update for that has come out. For BioInsights, at least. There was one not too long ago that there was an update, but I think it was more of an update to match the core API changes or something. I cannot see what chat says. Okay, there we go. Soon trademark. Oh, look who's in the stream. You know, I talk about you all the time, man.
Body 4. Landable with atmosphere. Argon atmospheric landable with life.
Those of you who just got here might notice my stream is not up to its normal standards. Because I lost my RX 580 and I had to fall back onto this TI or this 1050 Ti.
Body 6. Landable with atmosphere. Argon atmospheric landable with life.
We shall see. What's down here? What are they orbiting? Nothing? Okay. Nothing here that I want.
Adjusting for jump.
Ask me why I chase the stars.
I should look at Discovery's Canon plugin and see what it says about these systems as I pass through them, see if there's any special requests other than mapping rings. I don't know. Hear about that. How did this
Completing
star get
system
on my
scan for
list?
photography.
Galaxy calls. I'm flying beyond the
How did this star get on my list?
past every warning sign.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Laser fire. This heart of mine won't settle for safe harbor when there's infinity.
That certainly shouldn't be on. None of these should be on my list of routes. What the hell's going on here, folks?
You see the danger, I see the path. Through
Yeah.
cosmic storms,
Oh, let's see. This is what you call operator error.
system unexplored.
That's what it's actually called.
Name can't stay grounded when adventure calls. I'm flying beyond the void.
Now that shouldn't happen again, but since we're here, let's see what we got. It's like crap. There's the sea star. Everything's going to be around it, of course. Running out of desktop space.
When there's infinity to find, tell me you understand.
Oh well.
Past the charted worlds into the unknown. Every jump through hyperspace takes me closer to who I am.
On the way, let's go. Last cat. Yeah, it helps to tell it to apply it to route if you're going to set up your filter.
Vectors.
I hope everybody's having a great day. So options, what kind of bios were unpredicted that you found? What type of bios were they? Oh, that's SRV survey you're talking about. Never mind.
Completing system scan. Standby.
Really? You found stratum tectonica on a planet and SRV survey didn't predict it?
I chase the
Huh.
stars
That's never happened to me with BioInsights.
in these scars.
It has happened, weird stuff has happened with BioInsights, but not very often, but never involving stratum tectonica, thank goodness. What was it the other day on one of my other streams? You know how sometimes well, at least in BioInsights, when it lists things, it'll say something that is very unlikely, and I always ignore those. And one time, one system had a bunch of the places listed highly unlikely. I said, I'm going to actually go there. And there was a bunch of those there that said it was a highly unlikely. So now I have to pretty much ignore if it's a highly unlikely, you know, because I used to go, oh, okay, it's not going to be there, and I just ignore it. And now I find out that it might actually be there sometimes, and I guess that means it doesn't say it's not there, it just says it's unlikely. But because up to that point, I had never found a case where it actually was there when it said it was highly unlikely. But in all honesty, I pretty much assumed that it was not going to be there. So probably have missed out on several cool things because of that.
Leaving system.
You know, I haven't found any electrochaea though in a long time in my travels. I think about a month ago or 3 weeks ago, it was listed as possibly being there, but it dropped off the list when I got there.
Compiling data for cartography.
System scan complete. Fuels
Nothing here.
frame shift
Hey, I think that may be a little hot. Let's not do that. Well, when is the next release coming out? We want it now?
another system on my
How many
screen.
bodies were here? I was ignoring the count.
Hand steady
I can't remember what type of system it was. It's on one of my VODs. It definitely wasn't a brown dwarf involved. It wasn't a black hole, I don't think.
getting closer to who I'll be.
Can't remember. It wasn't that many streams ago that happened in. Oh well.
Frame shift drive charging. Before these stars became my home.
But since it happened to me, that actually it was actually there. Now I have to check.
Changes who I thought I'd be. Each one I find
Voice
sets
adjustment.
something free.
Waiting on Observatory Dev to fix a small
That's quite
issue in the latest release of Observatory.
Scanner activated.
I bet you could release the fix now. You just have to redo some stuff when they fix the other issue or something. You just don't want to have to do it twice. I don't blame you. 16 bodies here. What is that? I know that one thing there is intergalactic, but what is that?
Each world I find something in me.
I think that's another galaxy, never mind. But it might be a planetary nebula for a moment.
Out here is where I learn to see. Faced the void and found my way. Through asteroid field stars.
If I see something ahead of me and it's fuzzy or whatever, I've been known to drop everything and just head over, and go find it. Because it's bright and shiny, just go see what it is.
Now I understand the last. Why I had to make this trip. Not to map the
Now
galaxy.
you need to make a lead observatory screen.
Each world I find something in
I get that's probably the Explorer.
Body 2B.
Like, do you
Close
do you
binary
do the
relative to
Explorer
body
plugin
size.
too? Or the Astral? I know if it sees one of them, if it sees a notable stellar, it will notify you. What was I gonna say though? It'd be nice if it yelled out about something else.
Out here in the silence, charting
Oh, a green gas giant. There was some way from the scan, if you could tell. I don't know. I don't think there's any way you can tell
Body
really
1A.
if
Landable
if
with
a gas
atmosphere.
giant is a green gas
Carbon
giant.
dioxide atmospheric landable with life. Body 1B.
stone
Landable
It's
with
not
atmosphere.
all that great. Let's see.
Carbon dioxide atmospheric landable with life. Body 1C. Landable with atmosphere. Carbon dioxide atmospheric landable with life.
a color no one's seen.
Yeah, I know. One of them I have mentions NSPs, and that was really helpful. That was really helpful to get your attention, because those can be easy to miss if you don't happen to notice something, down on the lower end of the spectrum, or you may think it's some type of degraded emission or some garbage. Oops. Not that those happen in unexplored systems.
Empty planet makes me more sure there's something
It'd be nice if they'd also mention it, if a Thargoid or Guardian thing was detected. Alright, we have in this system 3 planets. None of the things here pay worth a damn as far as I'm concerned. Just your normal run-of-the-mill bacteria, concha, tubus, and tussocks. So I'm just going to skip that. Other people might not skip that, but highest paying thing is 3.23 million. That's no joy for me. Other people might be fine to get it though. That's why I like Bio Insights. So it lets me really quickly decide if I'm going to effort or anything or not, depending on how picky I am that day. But since I've already got 2 Stratum Tectonicas, I definitely won't be going back to the carrier empty-handed. So if I hadn't found anything yet by now, I probably would go after something just it's of low value, just to have it to turn in. I detest returning to the carrier with nothing. Doesn't happen very often.
Analyzing now.
9 bodies. Past this pesky star. 3 stars. We have a nebula over there. Where are you hiding at? There you are.
Body BC1. Landable with atmosphere. Argon atmospheric landable with life. Body BC2. Landable with atmosphere. Argon atmospheric landable with
Sadly,
life.
these are all low value
Body BC4.
items.
Landable with atmosphere. Argon atmospheric landable with life.
Keep purring by my side. We're crossing every great divide. The stars are calling out our names. We're burning bright, we're chasing flames.
Nothing. Okay. Nothing I'm gonna worry about.
Frameshift drive charging. The galaxy's our destiny. We're riding through the endless night. Commander and companion side by side. Discovering what's yet unseen. The bravest hearts this void has ever
Jumping to next system.
We'll face the dark. We'll touch the stars. Nothing can stop us. Here we are. Beyond the horizon we will fly. Forever reaching for the
I actually use Astro Analytica every once in a while.
Completing system scan
Keeps
for
track of
top.
stuff.
where no one stays. The cockpit lights your
7 bodies. Ooh, 5 stars.
wanderers. Through dangers that would break the rest.
Now we're 5 stars. I'm gonna get some distance.
Ads starting in 1 minute.
Oh boy, more ads just for you guys.
You and me, we're riding through the endless night. Commander and companion side by side. Discovering what's yet unseen. The bravest hearts this
See
void
what we
has
got.
ever seen. We'll face the dark. We'll touch the stars. Nothing can stop us.
How many stars are there? Oh, okay. Missing some stars. How did that happen?
Every moment that will last, you and I against it all, rising every time we fall. The universe is ours to claim. We'll leave our mark, we'll make our name. We're riding through the endless night, commander and companion side by side, discovering what's yet unseen. The bravest touches boy has ever seen.
What kind of stars are those?
Nothing can stop us, here we are. Beyond the horizon we will fly, forever reaching for the sky. Beyond the horizon we will fly.
I guess I should get rid of my snowman and snowflake. This Christmas is over.
Adjusting for jumps.
I wish they had one of a cat sitting on the dashboard. I'd get that.
Thinking of the path ahead. You said I'd find what I was meant to be.
Performing now.
Way up there, so far from home.
Alright, 10's a good number.
My eyes, I feel the pull of distant skies. You showed me maps of places far away. Said that's where your heart will stay. Every jump into darkness brings light. Oh, brings light. Every journey leads me to shine.
A water world here somewhere.
Body 3. Mandible with atmosphere. Carbon dioxide atmospheric mandible.
Brings life. Commander, your words still guide me now through the vastness, cold and deep. Each new system tells another tale of footprints.
On a rocky
never
ice world, you want a bob.
And I believe in everything you said was true.
Body 4. Mandible and
Possibly
terraformable.
stratum tectonica.
Mandible with atmosphere. High value body. Carbon dioxide atmospheric mandible with life. Meets mapping criteria. Body 5. High value body.
Well, let's go to 4 and see if that's stratum tectonica or the
System discovery
bacteria.
complete. First body to map is 4.
You taught me the fear takes flight when we dare to cross the line. Every jump into darkness brings
Wait a minute. Let's try planet 4, not. Okay. So that seemed a little distant. There we go. That's better.
beyond what's known before. Every jump into darkness brings light into the endless night.
Y'all wonder why I spin often when I go into a planet. I'm looking for where the sun's at. Like, so I can do this famous loop of shame excuse and pretend that I'm just doing it for tactical placement. That worked out well. But I spin to see where the sun's coming from. Sometimes I'll pull up and down to see if the sun's behind me, so I know I'm coming on the light side of the planet. Of course, once you get closer, you can see what's the light side. But Alright, fingers crossed for more stratum. Let's see what we got. Either bacteria or stratum. This is the type of bacteria that increases the odds of it being stratum, in my opinion. If it was Cerebus, it would be about 90% of the time it'll be bacteria. But I think around maybe I say 60% of the time that with this type of bacteria under these conditions, it's bacteria instead of the stratum, but kind of increases the odds of the stratum. But purely anecdotal, no statistical information here. That's just my gut feeling on it. Doesn't matter. You don't know until you check it anyway. So. Yeah, badly screwed up this shot. Not too bad. It's bacteria. Oh well.
Next body to map is 5.
Nothing else to be done here. That was fun while it lasted. Excuse me. But the fact that I'm finding sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide worlds, it means there's probably a lot of stratum in this region.
Jumping to
If
next
I just
system.
stopped and went to some of the adjacent systems and things. Do a bunch of the stars in this voxel, but that's too much dedication. 2 big old stars there. Look at that.
Gathering information. Cartography update.
Wrong window, Commander. Or wrong scanner.
Now I'm not so sure I'll steer back to where I used to be, 'cause space is where I'm meant to be.
3 stars. 3 things on radar. Those stars all look like they might be somewhat close together. All 3 of them that close? Wow, look at that. Those are close together. Huh. Take a picture of that. I could probably get a better picture, but hey, it is what it is. Alright, let's see what we got here.
You're sitting in the captain's chair. Stars are calling out your name. There's something waiting out there.
Psycho Benjamin, hello. How are you today?
Crave for catching starlight. You've got to push beyond the past. Make this journey feel right.
Why is that?
Body ABC1. High value body. Meets mapping criteria.
Why are you so sore? Ah. Yeah, I don't do that. I get my exercise walking up and down the stairs. Pretty much.
System discovery
And maybe to
complete.
the mailbox.
First body to map is ABC1.
Stay right on this track. I see you checking all the screens, plotting courses through the black. Sometimes I wonder what it means when there's no way to check. Smoke is watching from the
I used to go to the gym and run and stuff all the time, but not anymore. Where am I from? I'm actually from the state of Oklahoma, but I'm in Mississippi, USA. Yes, American.
Completing system scan. Stand by.
Where are you from? Ah, Canadian. 20 bodies. Okay. You, I for a moment I was like going, it's like 4:30 in the morning here. You already been to the gym, but you may be sore from being at the gym yesterday. Already went today, huh? That's dedication. I used to do that, you know, especially when I was back in the military. We would go to the gym and stuff at really odd hours. We'd go to the gym and then we'd do PT. Sometimes. I was in the Air Force, so PT in the Air Force in the 80s, 90s was not the same
Body
as
B3. Landable with atmosphere.
other branches.
Neon-rich atmospheric landable.
For the first 6 years of my enlistment, I spent 20 years in the Air Force. I was a electronics instructor on repair of ground-based navigational equipment, ILS, TACAN, TVOR, things like that. After that, I cross-trained into computer programming, and I was in a software development flight for a while, and I was system administrator on a Honeywell Linux system, and at some point a network administrator, several things. I was not a flying person. The only thing I ever flew was a chair. Though I did get to fly with the Hurricane Hunters once. We were riding a software simulator. You know, the Hurricane Hunters fly along and they drop sensors called the drop sonde from their aircraft. So we wrote a software simulator to simulate data coming back from a drop sonde, so they could train people on their equipment and stuff and how to use it without actually dropping things and, you know, having to fly and spend resources and things. Oh, it's much more than just barometrics. You know, barometrics, wind speed, humidity, temperature, and anything else they can derive from, I guess, that data. I guess altitude and stuff. But we flew across the Gulf of Mexico. They just that way we could see what the equipment was, how they used it, and get a better idea of what the end user's experience was. So then when we went back and wrote a bunch of code to try to make it look the same, did a pretty good job. And they used it for many years. I doubt they still use it now, but this is just a long time ago, man.
Body 5. Wide range.
Yeah, I am in a Mandalay. I'm in a beautiful Mandalay. This is called Curious Cat. The Mandalay's combat mine is not. I have a crate for that. I primarily do this. Why is it doing that way? That's weird. Huh. I primarily do this stuff. Exo-biology. How long have you been playing the game? I've been playing since December of 2020. since beta. Have you ever been in my chat before? I don't remember you. I'm usually pretty good at remembering when I interact with people. I try to remember at least, huh? When I don't, I claim old age, you know, old timers, but I'm pretty good at remembering people. Your name though looks kind of familiar though. Oh, okay, okay. Your name seems familiar to me, so. Well, I'm glad to have met you then.
Body 3A. Landable with atmosphere.
Nothing good
Carbon
there.
dioxide atmospheric landable with life.
Carbon dioxide atmosphere is good. Give me something good. Give me more stratum tectonica. I only have 2 so far. I need 3. Or 4. One time I found 5 stratum tectonica in one system. I do not recall that. Who is that guy?
Body 4B. Landable with atmosphere. Carbon dioxide atmosphere.
You can mention names. I don't care. I don't ban anybody for anything.
Landable with atmosphere. Carbon dioxide atmospheric landable with life. Body 4E. Landable with atmosphere.
No, I don't think I was in on that.
Body 4C.
Nothing here but
Landable
cheap,
with atmosphere.
cheap stuff. Oh, wait a
Carbon
minute.
dioxide atmospheric landable with life.
And nothing here but cheap stuff. So there is something here, almost 6 million. A couple of planets of Tussock, but I'm not going to worry about it. Most people in this game dislike you. Why? Are you a ganker? My squadron, my squadron commander is a cow for all seasons. If you're a ganker, you'd know who that is. Yeah. I've been in his Discord a few times.
Scanning for information.
Yeah, I'm in ARCs. I am glad I'm talking about that because I've donated like $27 billion towards our fleet carrier. I want to see if he's bought it yet. He said he was going to. Whoops, wrong thing. But I'm not a ganker. Go figure. I have nothing against ganking now. Squadrons. That's okay. Oh, I said, okay. So we have 28 billion. I have put almost all of that myself. See, there's Cal donated 800,000. But all the rest of that money has come from me towards the squadron commander. And the squadron fleet carrier, not squadron commander. Cal said if I wanted the squadron to have a squadron carrier, that I had to have to fund it. And I said, basically, hold my beer. Well, I have a fleet carrier also. Everybody has fleet carriers just about, but I wanted one for the squadron because 60 kilotons of tritium can take you a long, long, long way. Someday I'm going to take it for a joyride. He did say he wanted to get it before Distant Worlds 3 kicked off. Not trying to associate those two events together. It's just, you know, what he told me.
Nitrogen atmospheric landable.
I live off my carrier, right?
Body AB1G.
Informing bacteria, we'll go look for that.
Nitrogen atmospheric landable with life.
But I typically take my carrier out in the middle of nowhere and park it and then work a bunch of stars in that area around it. right now my carrier is parked. It's not too far from here. I just came out right here on a day trip because I was in the bubble and didn't have much to stream. I mean, I could do some mining or the CG or something, but you know, I typically do exo-biology, so I just hopped the carrier out here a ways to position myself a little bit and do this. I had not done much mining, but on my last trip, my passenger and I, we did some mining. I mined a bunch of tritium. He mined more, but I've got a type 11, you know. I just want to be sure I know how to do it and stuff. Now, where was that informant? It's on 1G. That would be AB1G. Exobiology makes bank for me. I've got 200 million in the bank so far right now that I'm carrying. I'll be turning in. I usually do in a 3-hour stream. I usually do about 300 million. I have a course here, but it's not engineered really much. I don't have a Caspian yet because I'm not going to spend real money on a Caspian. Even though I'm an explorer, I just don't think the Caspian, I don't do much neutron highway stuff, and I don't think the Caspian's really going to benefit me for doing what I tend to do. The Mandalay pretty much fulfills all those needs. I don't think the Caspian does anything better than the Mandalay, really. Other than comes in at a steeper angle. It certainly probably can't land in spots the Mandalay can. The Mandalay has its own problems landing. If you watch any of my streams, you'll hear me oftentimes complain about the Mandalay and some stupid pebble keeping me from landing. But now for neutron jumps, I mean, nothing can beat a Caspian, but I've done, what, 3 or 4 of them total in my life. And never because I had to. I was either EDSM or NAR. One of them has a badge for doing a neutron jump, so I did a couple of neutron jumps just to get that badge. However, some of the Caspian jumps and speed runs to Colonia have been very impressive in times. Very impressive. People get to Colonia in an hour or less, you know, or something, or even 2 hours would be pretty impressive to me. I lost my main video card, so I had to fall back onto this 1050 Ti, so I had to lower my frame rate and a bunch of other crap, so it is what it is. 40 minutes or so for you to get their options. Have you done it? Or are you just talking about the record? Going to get this informant. Informant's about 8.4, 8.5 million base value, so that'd be 40 million. I need the right scanner though, Commander. If I get a course there and engineer it and stuff, that is probably something I would try to do, is take the neutron highway to Colonia just to do it, because I could do the same thing in a different ship, but I never made a neutron highway specific trip anywhere. What are you talking about there, Benjamin? Talking about the browser needs a Elite Dangerous mod? Opera GX. I don't know. Are you talking about the Opera browser or something else? Oh, I'm gonna sneeze, guys. Let's see if that's the only sneeze. Oh, I know they got lots of, what, skins or something? I used to use Opera when it first came out, and I really had no complaints about it.
This is the way.
But gosh, that was a long time ago. I haven't used Opera in a decade? I don't know. What kind of terrain you got here?
Computations complete. Vectors for descent.
I think I'm going to try to go, if I can stretch it that far, I can really go over there. Oh, I don't want to be down there. Okay. Looking for some smooth areas.
Makes me wanna try breaking past this life.
Not liking it. Oh well. It is what it is.
Every jump he makes
I knew after I sneeze, my nose is gonna get runny and I'm gonna start coughing. That's what happens. Go right here.
scanning systems touching down on planets carved from alien stone.
Sometimes informant can be a pain in the ass to find. This is not the most common surface I would find informant on. I like finding it on icy planets or something. Give me my scanner. Thank you. Excuse me. I'm gonna mute my microphone for a minute because I'm gonna be coughing. Coughing and blowing my nose. Okay, let's see anything. I'm not seeing joy here. May go up the orbit and come back down. I'm not liking this terrain much at all. Bacteria. Is there a flatter plateau somewhere? Let's go over there. Let's go over there.
Ads starting in 1 minute.
Oh boy. I am not liking this at all. Where'd that other flat area go? Not liking this. Alright, as I say often, when in doubt, look about. Let's look around a second. I'm not seeing anything that stands out. Let's go up to orbit and come back down. Different spot. Oh, that's cool.
Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
Try to find maybe better terrain too. Let's get her done today, Commander. Alright, let's go over there. Maybe we'll have better luck in the green zone. I should have aimed for that earlier. I'm going to take a break here shortly, get more coffee, and go to the bathroom. All right, dad jokes are in the house. Okay, let's go see what's to behold here. Got any more dad jokes there, Mark Gamer? I gotta do this. Hang on. Come on. Ah. Trying to get through this here real quick.
User Bacardesan says a man assaulted me with milk. How dare he?
R. Okay, back to the grind here. Informant, not seeing you. That's disappointing. It says it's here somewhere. Oh, frame rate, man. Isn't that awesome? Not seeing it, not feeling it. That's very disappointing. I'm not going to spend all day looking for it either. Trolled me.
Alone among thousand stars.
I usually find most bacteria on flatlands, but not a lot of flatlands on this planet.
My soul takes flight along the sacred way. The universe calls to
Fawn is
me.
usually a light color, gray smudge, maybe greenish gray. I'm not seeing it.
Take me to infinity without a leap into hyperspace, where the heart is finally free. With peace and forever love of the infinite blue. Toward the stars I go, searching for light. Nebulae of many colors.
Alright. We try over here, and then if we don't see anything, we'll go up to orbit one last time and come back down somewhere else.
Every sun, each life yet undiscovered, while worlds await me under unfamiliar skies. Frame shift right, take me to infinity without a leap into hyperspace, where the heart is finally free, the free side.
70.
Of the infinite blue, toward the stars I go, searching for love.
Oh, something out of the corner of my eye, but that's not it. So what's over this hill?
Space, I find my truth.
Oh, that's not good.
Every planet, every star is my immortal legacy. Brave navigator of the celestial sea.
Taking way too much time.
Try, take me to
I'm in it for the money, not the time.
hyperspace, where the heart is finally free. The creation of the infinite blue, toward the stars I go, searching for
Not seeing it. Okay.
always searching.
Let's try right over there real quick.
Curious cat, my soul takes flight forever
Crap.
among the stars.
There's some right there. That just means it's gonna be a bitch. After I find one, then I have to find the rest.
Landing gear deployed.
It's easy to see, it's just not very plentiful. But maybe there'll be another one here nearby.
Deuterium informem confirmed present. Base value 8.42
Bunk.
million. Minimum sample distance 500 meters. First partial sample collected.
The naughty rainbow, it got sent to Prism. Oh boy. Reaching for that one. Well, it looks like we're going to do this the hard way.
Standing at the viewport, watching distant sun.
Got one.
Every breath a promise of what's still to come. The void ahead is calling with the voice I know. Commander's heart is ready for the great unknown. Fingers on the throttle, destiny inside. One more jump to
Yeah,
glory
that's going to be fun to spot. All right. Well,
the color is on fire where the brave belong. Through the fire and the black forever pushing on. Uncharted worlds
Minimum distance reached. You've traveled over 500 meters from previous sample.
okay, be nice. Give me another one here.
nebulae like oceans painted across the void. Every scan reveals what time could not destroy. Landing on the surface where no soul has been.
Uh-huh.
Riding on into worlds that have never seen. Nothing's gonna hold us in the space between. The stars are ours for taking every system.
Is there more to that? Oh man. Go look inside this crater. Who knows? Maybe there's some flat areas here. Ship just does not fly like it should. Feels different. Well, at least we know what informant looks like now. Oh, nice of it to update the terrain.
Through the frame shift gate I fly. Commander's bird and star-crossed sky. The curious
Yeah, I'm
cat
thinking I'm gonna go up to orbit, come back down, see if we get lucky. Anything right here.
Every nebula calls my name. Responsibility and flame into the void. I rise. Unknown horizons fill my eyes. The weight I carry, the wonder I seek on alien ground.
see anything helpful here.
Rugged mountains on distant spheres. I've conquered doubt. I've conquered fears. Each star I scan, a silent vow to those who trust my judgment now. The helm is heavy. The
Way too high. It's down low.
this galaxy, come all be mine. Into the void I rise. Unknown horizon.
Not a big fan of these settings.
The weight I carry, the wonder I seek on alien ground where few dare speak. Oh, curious cat, through darkness we soar, discovering what lies in store. They look to me to lead the way through perils that could end
Spending
our
way too much time looking for this. It ain't worth it.
the beauty that I've found inside.
Now that I have one sample, though, I have to effort it. I could just given up, and walked away, but no. All right, let's go up and see if we get lucky somewhere else. A lot of times the Stellar Forge or whatever it uses is nice. Puts one close to where you drop down at. Then you just go back up to orbit and come back down somewhere else and do it again. In a perfect world. Well, at least we found one so far. Yeah.
In the silence of my cockpit, tracking your path
Orbital flight
through infinity.
on approach.
Oh,
No real reason to go over here, just somewhere else.
they say you found what we fear
Orbital
to
navigation
see
guidance system online.
beyond the void, where stars speak. Every star knows your name, Commander. Every star knows your name. Through the cosmos you reign, Commander. Every star knows your name. Every star knows your name. La la la, beyond the
An OBS window, it's hiding back there.
into the night.
Changing flight mode.
Your transmissions paint the darkness with tales of worlds no one has seen. Pioneer spirit, breaking barriers, making history in the every star knows your name, Commander.
0.42G, Commander. Remember that.
Cosmos, you reign, Commander. Every star knows your name. Every star knows your name. Systems mapped and planet scanned.
Where are you, Mr. Informant?
Moving fast through hyperspace, setting records none can trace.
Mr. Informant's pretty easy. There've been a couple of times, though, it's been like this, and I had to look and look and look.
Stations through the galaxy. Your ship's signature in the dark, like a celestial landmark, breaking through what holds us back, leaving stardust in your track. I watch your signal, growing stronger as you venture ever onward. Ever onward we go. Every star knows your name, commander. Every star knows your name. Through the cosmos, you reign, commander. Every star knows your name. Every star knows your name, commander. They all know.
The feeling that there's one here, I just don't see it.
Every star knows your name. Into infinity, your light guides me. Every star knows your name.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could send out that pulse from the ship? You really need to add that. If you have it, if you can hold it in your hand and do it, why can't they give you a module to do the same thing? The ship, even if it's low and slow, it'd be nice. Come on, game, throw me a bone. I'm not going to keep looking much longer for this. I'll just blow it off. Didn't work. Yeah, I threatened to give up on it, and it gave me one.
Second partial sample collected.
Yeah, tonight it is.
Just one more jump, just one more call. Markers on my radar, I'm answering them all. You watch from the bridge as the world disappears.
Minimum distance
Out
reached.
here I'm at peace with
You've
the
traveled
rush
over
and
500 meters from previous sample.
Sometimes it's very abundant though, but this one's going to be a pain. So I may have to go up to orbit and come back down again just so it'll make one for me. Aha. Finally, done with this damn planet. Menu log, come on. There you go.
Blazing through the silence, across infinite blue. I fly where thunder gathers, I see what few dare view. With cannons lighting darkness, my flame is
Sample collection complete.
I rise in the rushing silence beyond the rings. You ask me why I push so far, I just
That's giving me 240 million so far. That's not too bad. Just a tad below average yet. That could all change in one system.
Landing gear retracted. Frame shift drive charging.
I feel the pull beyond this world.
3, 2,
Engines hum,
1.
the void calls out with ancient songs. I know that I'm the chosen one. Each star ahead holds mystery that no one else has ever seen.
I do not use anything to weapons. That's
Nothing can hold me down. I am starbound,
Frame shift drive
flying
charging.
true past the edge of all we knew.
Snowman's bobbing his head sagely.
Made for this.
Vectors.
Between the suns, I'll keep going till it's done. My ship cuts through the cosmic dust. These alien skies stretch endlessly.
As you like.
Scan each world with careful
System
eyes,
scan
recording
Nothing here.
universe is mine. To home, no fear can slow my beating.
Frame shift drive charging.
Born to roam. I am starbound, flying true past the edge of all we knew.
Adjusting for
Ads starting in 1 minute.
faster than light velocity reached.
Going till it's done.
Executing now.
Fuel sweeping complete. System scan complete.
Nothing here either.
I just smiled and took my chances.
Tell you what, guys, I'm gonna take a real quick break, go to the bathroom and refill my coffee. I'll be back in just a very, very short time.
Something new. I am starbound, flying true past the edge of all we knew. I am starbound. This is me, writing my own history. Through the dark between the suns, I'll keep going. out there, beyond the rim, you launch. You launch. You fire up the engines. You set course for distant systems. You leave the bubble behind. You leave safety behind. You pilot curious cat. You scan every star. You land on worlds unknown. You chart what's never shown. You pilot curious cat. You reach so far. You make your mark in the dark. In the dark. You dive through spinning nebulae. You dodge the void's embrace. You feel scoop from birth.
Why? Why do you do it? You explore for fame. Perhaps for glory of being the first. Or maybe you desire to be rich. It needs to be done. Someone has to do it. Explore the galaxy. Be the first. Be famous.
Oh, where no one's ever gone before. Exotic new life, wondrous nebula. Explore the galaxy. Explore the galaxy. Explore the galaxy.
Elite dangerous, Commander. Elite dangerous. What if I'm there? Come find out. What if I'm there? What if I'm there?
All right, I'm back. Where was I? What was I doing? I don't know. Let's see. Nothing here. Okay.
Frameshift drive charging.
Onward we go. Got more coffee. Got rid of some coffee. It's all good.
Leaving
And
system.
I have
Faster than
popcorn.
light velocity reached.
Breakfast of champions.
When the silence speaks, you push through the maze. You push through,
Completing system scan for cartography.
you push on. You
Fuel
feel
scooping complete.
you fight in the curious cat.
Eat bodies 3 stars so far.
You let the world unknown. You show what's never shown. You party is dead.
Oh, this might be fun.
You make your mark in the dark.
Body BC2. Landable and terraformable. Landable with atmosphere. High value body.
Possibly
Carbon
stratum.
dioxide atmospheric landable. Meets mapping criteria. Body BC3. Landable and terraformable.
Okay. You have one planet to go
Landable
check
with
out.
atmosphere.
See if it's
High
stratum or
value body.
bacteria.
Carbon
BC3.
dioxide atmospheric landable with life. Meets mapping criteria. System discovery complete. First body to map is BC2.
I disagree. First body to map is BC3. Let's go. The last time this happened, we were unlucky. Let's hope we have more luck this time, that it will be stratum and not the bacteria. We need one more stratum tectonica. That'll push us over the 300 million. Either way, it'll be quick. At least to find out. Sneaking gravity well. There we got it.
Another jump through hyperspace.
Green gas giant song.
Me. Scanning every system down for what I need to see. They say it's out here somewhere, 1 in 1,000 stars. But all I find is ice and stone, dead worlds and empty stars. How many rocks can one girl take? How many frozen spheres? I'm talking to my dashboard now. The cat's the one who
surface scan by 50%.
Mapping complete.
Surface scan.
Next
Bacteria.
body to map is BC2.
Okay.
Frameshift drive charging.
Another rocky barren mess, another icy shell.
4, 3,
Leaving system.
Seas of comedy and
Interstellar travel mode engaged.
well. My ship's computer mocks me with every system that uninhabited. It says again, my patience is nearly
Gathering information.
snapped.
Cartography updates.
The cat is getting restless now. I swear I hear her sigh. One more
Frameshift drive
boring
charging.
planet, and I might start to cry. Where's my green gas giant? Tell me why. Every skin
Adjusting for jump.
the same. Round and you go
Do a couple more systems, then I'll head back to the carrier and start wrapping up.
find you. What
And go think about breakfast.
the curious cat keeps jumping.
Be streaming again later tonight, sometime Friday night.
Acknowledged.
What's that signal?
19 bodies. Oh boy.
Spectrum reading. Green frequency. There's my green gas
Bacon and cheese sandwich, huh?
I see. The curious cat was right to search.
I don't know, an egg sandwich sounds good.
I finally found you. Everything's alright.
No,
My beautiful green.
no earth likes. Let's press on.
You're the perfect size. We never know another something new.
Body 5B. 5 of 6 premium boost materials.
I drift between the rocks tonight. My ship cuts through the dust and stone. The radar shows a million threats, but I keep pushing on alone. Each asteroid could be my last. The void is cold and unforgiving, but something pulls me further out.
It's not green.
This life I chose for living. Here I am, past the edge of what I know. Here I stand when no one else would ever go.
Hiding there somewhere.
Calling me to find what lies beyond.
It's pretty. Interesting, it doesn't have the normal banding features. That's cool.
Engines burn against the dark. The hull shakes with each narrow miss. A field of spinning metal death. But I was built for fights like this. The scanner picks up something new. A signal from the
Body 4BA. Nested moon.
Whatever waits out there for me, I'll face the odds, however slim. Here I am, past the edge of
Come on, one more. Where you at?
here I stand.
Really? There's some dangling one here somewhere.
Lies beyond. They'll never understand back home why I chase these distant lights.
4,
Jumping to next system.
2, 1.
I bet that bacon and cheese sandwich was good. Sounds good.
Compiling data for photography.
For dinner, I had and will have again because I made 2 plates of it. But, chicken thighs and rice. And I cut up a bunch of jalapenos and put it in with the rice and let it soak before I cooked it. Then cooked it slow. That's some spicy rice. Let me tell you, it's good. I used to grow habaneros. I need to do that again. Those are some good peppers. These jalapenos just don't cut it. Gee, where you at? There's more distance between me and them. We condense things a little bit. There it is. Not green. That one's not green either.
Body 2B. Close binary relative to body size. Body 2A. Close orbit. Close range proximity.
Okay.
Parent has high angular diameter from body. Body 4B. Landable with atmosphere. Methane atmospheric landable with life. May host a new personal codex entry.
Is this gonna be everything? Yeah. Sometimes the green
Body
spots
3BA.
are pretty
Close
small.
orbit. Nested moon. Parent has high angular diameter from
And then
body.
it doesn't say anything really uniquely in it. Other than I've heard and what I saw of the descriptions of other green gas giants. I've said this before on stream. Other than it having green, sometimes in the description, how it says something here with the descriptions of the colors of something, but it'll say something like this planet in particular, you know, something uniquely identifying this planet. It'll say some phrasing, you know, to identify it uniquely. Other than that, there's, as far as I know, there's no way of knowing if it's a green gas giant without visually seeing it green, you know. I don't know. One more system. And I'll head back to the carrier and call it. Won't take long to get to the carrier though, with big jumps, so.
Adjusting for jump.
Hasn't been a bad evening
Hyperspace velocity.
for exo-biology though, money-wise, so not complaining. Could have made more if I wanted to spend the time getting some smaller items, but yeah. It is what it is.
Of course.
Holy cow, it's going to take a minute. 37 bodies. Cases like this, I go, man, I hope someone's already mapped this thing. I don't have to. Let's find out. That would be no. No one's done it. Because no one's been here.
Body 8C. Landable with atmosphere. Methane atmospheric landable with life. Body 8A. Landable with atmosphere.
Nothing good so far.
Methane atmospheric landable with life. May host a
Methane,
new
neon,
personal
argon with
codex
1 or
entry.
2 biosignals is almost
Body
always
8B.
cheap bacteria or
Landable with
fonticula.
atmosphere. Methane atmospheric landable with life. Body 7A. Parent has high angular diameter from body.
Just the quiet
Body 6A.
before stars
Close
drift
orbit.
by.
Close
Hands
ring
on the
proximity.
flight.
Parent has high angular diameter from body.
Low hum, waiting, blinking lights. Each breath cuts the silence, silence in the sky. Glances zapping but one. Footnote in the dust, charted lane.
The geologic activity.
Edges of what I know fall
Body 5DA.
away.
Nested moon.
Half-formed hopes floating away. Catch a glimpse, streaks slowly away. Catch a glimpse, streaks scattered.
All these gas giants and none of them green.
The same view right now.
Body 2B.
All engines
Landable with atmosphere. Carbon dioxide atmospheric landable with life. Body 2CA. Nested moon. Body 2C. Landable with atmosphere. Carbon dioxide atmospheric landable with life. Body 2D. Landable with atmosphere.
Too bad. These are all
Carbon dioxide atmospheric landable with life.
low value things.
Body 2DA. Nested moon.
Jagged plains, alien breeze.
Almost done.
Knees to the heat. Started fields I never saw. Empty but I leave
That's pretty.
on. No victory, just pulse in my palm, strong and raw.
Don't be behind the star.
Metal and spirit fused tight. Wary of the coming fight. Right now, all engines burn. Past mapped lines, unknown turns. Something pushes, heart moves ahead. In nebulized, I won't forget. Pages turning, thin black thread.
Body 3C. Close binary relative to body size.
Silent worlds just
Alright. We have
empty sea.
nothing super spectacular. Don't think I'm gonna effort these. They're all Not real high value. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'll do one more system, then I'll head back.
Frameshift drive.
Keep hoping to find something, one last thing to get.
Vectors. Marvelous.
Marvelous.
Courses through the dark, where asteroids dance and plasma sparks. Through the cosmic dust, in elite grandeur, we trust. The void
Scanning
calls
now.
out my name tonight as I navigate my stars.
Alright, nothing here.
Complete.
Let's head back. Won't take long.
Beyond these pearly gates, I am the forerunner, breaking through the night.
Nope, don't want to do that.
Where others fear to
Let's do it the fast way.
the stars, burning satellite bright in this endless
Okay, 4 jumps.
never die.
So we'll check things on the way, of course. Maybe some system that we've already been through, though. Odds are fairly high.
Storms, I carry on my spirit
Frameshift drive.
combat sirens pierce the silence deep, while enemy ships surround me sweep. But courage flows within.
That's G, okay.
Pulse lasers break their chains.
Maybe we'll find
Jumping to
Earth
next
too.
system. That's quite something.
The unknown calls to me. Across infinity.
Compiling data for photography.
Forerunner, breaking through the night. Forging paths where others fear to fly.
24 bodies, okay.
Bright in this endless space, I will never die. Across the Milky Way, I'll find another day. Commanders in the black, when you're flying solo, never looking back. Thought
Anybody been here?
got my wits and my Corvette set. From Beagle Point to Sagittarius A-Star, I've been placed that would leave you scarred. Running in the rain, train
Ads starting in 1 minute.
neighborhoods. My vegetation it goes through the ports. From the space to end parcours. A nice price, know my course I will. The legend that the spaces tell. Dans l'immensité de l'espace profond,
North likes.
l'avenir fécond. Les étoiles me montrent le chemin vers un destin plus que certain. I am the forerunner, breaking through the night, forging paths where others fear to fly. Commander of the stars, burning satellite bright in this endless space. I will never die. We are the forerunners, children of the light. Together we'll explore beyond the sky. La 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 la, across the Milky Way. La 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 la, we'll find another day. Oh, the legacy lives on, until the break of dawn. In elite duress, we are never alone. Another signal comes through tonight from somewhere past what we know. Your voice breaks clear and bright as numbers data flow. Each message that you send our way lights up another chart.
Body 5A. Close orbit.
We track your path
Close
day
ring proximity.
after day.
Parent
As you
has high
venture
angular diameter from
far
body.
apart, every star you touch turns to gold. Every world you find comes alive, breaking barriers untold, making history thrive. Your scanners paint the black we've never seen.
Body 8A.
No fear
Cheap.
Landable with atmosphere.
back, you chase what
Methane
might have
atmospheric
cheap.
landable with life. May host a new personal codex entry. Body 8D.
Nothing here I'm going
Landable with
after.
atmosphere. 5 of 6 premium boost materials. Methane atmospheric landable with life.
calculated
May host a new personal codex entry.
Carve through space and time. Every star you touch turns to gold.
Leaving system.
Every world you find comes alive. Breaking barriers untold. Making history live. From this station I watch you soar. Beyond
Scan
what
starting.
we
Stand by.
dreamed before.
Fuel scooping.
Your courage lights the way for those who come someday.
Fuel scooping complete.
La la la, beyond the stars we know. Every star you touch turns to gold. Every world you find comes alive. Breaking barriers
Body 1.
untold.
Landable with atmosphere.
Nothing.
Helium atmospheric landable.
Frameshift drive.
Jumping to next system. Faster than light velocity reached.
Cuddies and fearless one charts the void where no ships run. Smoky guards with watchful eyes
Completing system scan.
as
Stand
they
by.
pierce uncharted skies.
Looks like we've been here already.
The vastness they dive on.
Fuel scooping complete.
Breaking chains of gravity.
Yeah, we've been here.
Set spirits free. Where supernovas break.
Here's the next system. I'll dock, turn in, and call it a night or day, whatever. I do plan on streaming again later tonight. I have to decide if I'm going to stay in this area, if I'm going to move, or if I'm going to head back to the bubble and do the CG or something. I'm inclined to
Stellar travel mode in
maybe jump the carrier a little bit and do some more exo-biology. And do some of the CG maybe this weekend.
Test the hull at its extreme.
Analyzing now.
The pilots go
Where's my carrier that's supposed to be targeted?
They dance through stellar shards, scooping round dying suns, breaking boundaries unknown. Where the traveler has flown past the edge of charted space, with unwavering faith and grace, conquer stars beyond our reach, brave the void, new worlds to break.
Okay.
The stellar tempest rage. Write our names on tempest slate. Hide our names on history's page. Pushing past the speed of light. Through antimatter storms they soar. Past event horizons mighty roar. Bacardi's and ship ascending. Smoky's courage never ending. Legendary valley.
Well then, Let me hear your cat's purr.
Pushing past the speed of light. Beyond the final frontier where ancient stars disappear. Champions of boundless space, leave immortal cosmic trace. In the grass, celestial dance.
No green gas giants though. That's sad. So options, what's Fiery Toad doing today on his stream?
Welcome back. I'm not gonna say that every time you show up.
Yeah, you are.
Contact confirmed. Clear to disembark. What can I do for you today?
My name on a few things.
Your ship is on our scanners.
Okay, that sounds good. Any codex entries?
Of light in the endless dark. But we know you're out there, breaking.
Let's go turn in our amount and see what we got. We got 240, so.
Fast, readings off the charts. Unknown signals ahead. This could be the start. Breaking through the void. You're making history.
Paul Lift.
Crossed is victory. Breaking through the void into mystery. Commander, show us what you're.
Sounds like a plan. Who's the guard tonight?
Structures found.
Hi there.
Data streams incoming. New worlds.
I do miss all the people that used to linger about. They're all gone now, though.
Like always does. Radiation spiking now. Life signs everywhere.
Makes the carrier seem empty with no people.
In the thin cold.
48 base value.
You're making
240 million.
every light.
Not the best, not the worst, by any means. You're welcome. Alright guys, I'm gonna, how about we raid Fiery Toad and I'm gonna call it a night. How's that sound? Unless you guys have someone else you'd like to raid?
Mission control, you won't believe.
If not, then let's do that.
Colors beyond.
Perhaps see y'all again tonight. Who's Astro Train? I don't know. Father Bill's on. All right, well, good morning, I guess, is the right phrase.
Breaking through the void. You're making
Get this raid going, and we'll get out of here. So, see y'all guys next time, hopefully.
breaking through the void.
Fly dangerous through the killing dawn. Fly dangerous, reaching for God. Cut across the void of black. Credits burning, no way back. Target locked in scanner's eye. Chase the prize or fall and die. Names written, bridges burn. Space demands your everything. On the don't reach you.